The fiery exchange between Howard Stern and Prince Harry on live television turned into one of those rare unscripted moments that viewers couldn't look away from. What started as a standard conversation quickly escalated into a verbal showdown that had the audience buzzing and the internet exploding with reactions. Howard Stern, known for his sharp tongue and unfiltered honesty, wasted no time going straight at Prince Harry, challenging his public image, his words, and even his choices in a way that felt brutally raw. It wasn't just another talk show interview, it became a clash of personalities, privilege, and perspective, with Stern pressing hard and Harry struggling to maintain his composure in the spotlight. Stern began by mocking Harry's decision to step away from royal duties while continuing to capitalize on his royal identity in media projects. His words cut with surgical precision, pointing out what many critics had whispered: Harry's life outside the monarchy still heavily leaned on the fame and recognition that came with his royal title. The moment Stern framed it this way, the tone of the interview shifted completely. What was supposed to be a discussion about independence and personal choice transformed into a fiery interrogation that left Prince Harry visibly uncomfortable. His measured responses tried to steer the conversation back to broader themes like freedom, family, and mental health, but Stern's relentless jabs made it clear he wasn't letting Harry off the hook. The audience could feel the tension growing with each exchange. Stern mocked not just Harry's choices but his tone of victimhood, arguing that millions of people deal with challenges every day without having the platform or privilege Harry enjoys. This line of attack struck a nerve. Harry tried to explain his side, emphasizing that he had been seeking peace and authenticity in a world that had always felt like a cage. But Stern's interruptions and sarcastic asides made his answers seem defensive, adding fuel to the fire. It became a rare moment where a high-profile guest seemed stripped of rehearsed soundbites, forced instead to confront criticism in real time. The clash wasn't just about Harry's personal life, it touched on bigger themes of responsibility, privilege, and authenticity. Stern mocked Harry's public complaints about the press while pointing out that he continues to engage with the media through books, documentaries, and interviews. It was a pointed contradiction that Harry couldn't fully dodge. His attempts to balance vulnerability with justification created moments where viewers could see both his frustration and his humanity. That tension, between being mocked and trying to explain himself, gave the exchange its fire. Stern's unapologetic style collided head-on with Harry's desire to be understood, creating a spectacle that people couldn't stop talking about. Social media erupted almost instantly. Clips of Stern's mocking tone, Harry's expressions, and the crowd's reactions began circulating, turning the moment into a viral flashpoint. Supporters of Harry blasted Stern for being disrespectful, calling the segment an ambush and accusing him of exploiting personal trauma for entertainment. On the other side, Stern's fans praised him for saying what many have thought but few have dared to voice in Harry's presence. They admired his fearlessness in cutting through polished narratives and forcing raw honesty into the conversation. That split reaction only intensified the buzz, making the clash not just a moment of television but a cultural debate. What made the exchange so memorable was how unscripted it felt. In an era where most celebrity interviews are carefully managed, this was a rare confrontation where neither side seemed willing to back down. Harry's body language showed flashes of irritation, his jaw tightening at Stern's sharper comments, but he also revealed a surprising level of restraint, never lashing out fully despite the pressure. Stern, meanwhile, doubled down on humor mixed with blunt truth, keeping the energy sharp and unpredictable. Viewers could feel the electricity of two worlds colliding, one rooted in the raw, unapologetic radio style Stern embodies, and the other in the fragile balancing act of royalty turned outsider. By the end of the exchange, there wasn't a clear winner, but there was definitely impact. Harry left the stage having shown a vulnerable side, yet still under heavy criticism for not fully addressing the contradictions Stern highlighted. Stern, on the other hand, walked away with yet another viral moment, cementing his reputation as someone who refuses to hold back, no matter who sits across from him. The fiery back and forth wasn't just a clash of opinions, it was entertainment, tension, and drama rolled into one unforgettable segment. It reminded viewers that live TV still has the power to deliver moments you can't script, moments that leave audiences replaying clips, arguing online, and taking sides in a debate that stretches far beyond the studio. The moment Howard Stern began questioning Prince Harry's royal privilege on live television, the atmosphere shifted from casual conversation to sharp confrontation. Stern, never one to tiptoe around sensitive issues, went straight for the heart of what many critics have long debated: how Harry can reject royal life while still leaning on the privileges that come with it. This line of questioning wasn't just provocative, it was piercing, forcing Harry to defend himself in real time under the glare of cameras and an audience eager to see how he would respond. Stern set the tone with his trademark wit, poking fun at the idea that Harry had escaped the monarchy but continued to enjoy a lifestyle and global platform built entirely on being a prince. His comments carried both sarcasm and sting, drawing laughs from the crowd but visibly putting Harry on edge. It wasn't just comedy, it was critique, and one that hit hard. Harry, seated across from him, tried to counter by framing his departure as a quest for freedom and peace. Yet every time he leaned into that narrative, Stern circled back, questioning whether Harry's brand of independence was really independence at all if it still relied on his royal identity. The tension grew with each jab. Stern mocked the irony of stepping back from royal duties while writing books, producing documentaries, and giving interviews that all centered on royal life. He pointed out that Harry's fame didn't come from starting fresh in anonymity, it came from the very monarchy he was distancing himself from. These comments sparked gasps and nervous laughter from the audience, who could sense the rising discomfort. Harry's response was calm but defensive, explaining that telling his story was not about exploiting his background but about reclaiming it on his own terms. Still, Stern pressed harder, refusing to let the contradiction slide. This clash of perspectives highlighted the complicated nature of privilege. Stern embodied the public voice of skepticism, articulating what many viewers have wondered but rarely get the chance to ask directly: can Harry truly claim to have broken free if every project he touches still revolves around being a prince? Harry, in turn, tried to shift the focus toward his struggles with the institution and the mental toll it took on him. He argued that his openness was part of his healing process and an attempt to help others. But the constant interruptions and Stern's biting tone made those points land less effectively, with Harry appearing as though he was stuck defending his existence rather than making his case. The back and forth created an almost theatrical dynamic. Stern's bluntness, laced with humor, contrasted sharply with Harry's seriousness and desire to be understood. For the audience, it was riveting, two completely different worlds colliding in a way that felt raw and unscripted. Stern mocked the comfort and access that come with royalty, while Harry insisted those same privileges came with unbearable pressures and personal sacrifice. The argument wasn't just about Harry, it was about the broader issue of how privilege is perceived and judged in a world that is both fascinated by and critical of royalty. Online reactions poured in within minutes of the broadcast. Clips of Stern ridiculing Harry's reliance on royal status while rejecting it went viral, sparking debates across social platforms. Some viewers praised Stern for calling out hypocrisy and saying what needed to be said. Others accused him of being unfair, dismissing Harry's pain and undermining his attempts to live a different life. The divide in opinions mirrored the clash itself, polarizing, emotional, and impossible to ignore. What made this segment so compelling was the way it exposed vulnerability on both sides. Stern leaned into his role as the unfiltered provocateur, risking criticism for going too far, while Harry tried to maintain dignity in the face of relentless questioning. The exchange forced viewers to confront a difficult question: can someone born into extraordinary privilege ever fully step away from it, or are they forever defined by it no matter how much they try to change? By the end, neither side had fully convinced the other, but the clash left its mark. Harry managed to show his composure and humanity under fire, while Stern reminded the world why his interviewing style continues to generate viral moments decades into his career. It wasn't neat or polished, but it was real, and that rawness is exactly what made it unforgettable. The questioning of royal privilege didn't just challenge Harry, it challenged the audience to think about fame, power, and authenticity in a way that lingers long after the cameras stop rolling. When Howard Stern began mocking Prince Harry live on air, the emotional reactions that followed became the centerpiece of the entire exchange. What made this moment stand out wasn't just Stern's sharp remarks, but the way Harry visibly responded to the heat. Cameras captured every shift in his body language, the tightening of his jaw, the narrowing of his eyes, the occasional forced smile. It was clear he was uncomfortable, and that discomfort translated into a fascinating moment of raw television that viewers couldn't turn away from. The tension began with Stern's sarcastic jabs at Harry's contradictions. At first, Harry tried to brush it off with polite laughter, clearly attempting to keep the mood light. But as Stern doubled down, ridiculing Harry's complaints about royal life while pointing out his ongoing reliance on it, the cracks in Harry's composure began to show. His responses slowed, his tone shifted from calm to defensive, and his hands, once resting casually, started fidgeting. This was not the polished, rehearsed Harry audiences were used to seeing in interviews. This was Harry under fire, reacting in real time to someone who refused to give him an easy pass. For Stern, the reactions only fueled his approach. Every time Harry faltered, Stern leaned in harder, using humor to mask pointed criticism. The audience responded with nervous laughter, torn between finding Stern's mockery entertaining and feeling sympathy for Harry's discomfort. That mix of laughter and unease made the atmosphere electric. You could sense the room shifting with each exchange, and the cameras ensured that Harry's every flicker of frustration was broadcast to millions watching. Harry's emotional reactions revealed more than words could. When Stern accused him of playing the victim while still enjoying extraordinary privilege, Harry's face tightened, his voice grew firmer, and his attempts at calm explanations carried a sharper edge. It wasn't anger that dominated, it was frustration, the kind of frustration that comes when you feel misunderstood yet can't fully break free from the narrative being forced onto you. Viewers watching at home could feel that struggle, and it made the exchange deeply human. For once, Harry wasn't delivering a carefully crafted story, he was visibly grappling with the sting of being mocked in public. The clash highlighted how easily emotions can cut through rehearsed talking points. Harry tried to redirect the conversation to themes of mental health, resilience, and the pressures of life in the spotlight, but Stern's relentless interruptions made those points feel less powerful. Instead, the spotlight stayed on Harry's reactions, his sighs, his pauses, the way his eyes darted as he searched for the right words. These small but telling moments made the exchange feel unscripted, reminding viewers that even someone as famous as Prince Harry can be rattled by criticism. What made the reactions even more significant was how relatable they felt. Millions of people know the feeling of being put on the spot, of trying to defend themselves while someone cuts them down with humor or sharp remarks. Watching Harry go through that in real time connected him to viewers in a new way. Some sympathized with him, seeing the struggle of a man trying to assert his independence while still being chained to the past. Others criticized him, arguing that his reactions showed a lack of accountability, that he was dodging Stern's blunt but valid points. That divide is exactly what made the moment go viral. People saw the same exchange, but their interpretations depended entirely on how they viewed Harry's emotional responses. On social media, clips of Harry's expressions spread quickly. Memes highlighted his forced smiles, while supporters praised his restraint in not lashing out. The debate became less about the words exchanged and more about the emotions displayed. Was Harry dignified for staying calm under fire, or was he exposed as defensive and fragile? The fact that people argued both sides only kept the conversation alive, fueling engagement long after the cameras stopped rolling. By the end of the interview, Harry's emotional reactions had told a story of their own. Stern walked away looking like the provocateur who had once again stirred controversy, but Harry left viewers with an image of vulnerability that was impossible to ignore. His discomfort, his frustration, and his attempts to stay composed under relentless mockery created a moment that felt real, raw, and unforgettable. It's those very emotions that made the exchange go beyond entertainment. The clash wasn't just about mocking royalty, it was about watching someone human react when pushed into a corner. That relatability is why people replayed the clips, shared them online, and debated them endlessly. Emotional reactions don't just show weakness, they reveal authenticity. And in that heated moment between Stern and Harry, authenticity was exactly what kept viewers hooked. The fiery on-air clash between Howard Stern and Prince Harry didn't just end in the studio, it spilled instantly into the public domain, sparking a wave of viral backlash and support that turned the segment into a cultural flashpoint. Within minutes of the interview airing, clips were flooding social media feeds, igniting heated debates and dividing audiences worldwide. What stood out wasn't just the argument itself, but how people chose sides so passionately, turning a tense TV exchange into an ongoing conversation that refused to die down. Supporters of Howard Stern wasted no time praising his boldness. To them, Stern had said what needed to be said, cutting through polished narratives and exposing contradictions in Harry's story. Comments poured in from fans who felt Stern was simply voicing what many ordinary people had long thought, that Harry couldn't truly separate himself from the monarchy while still capitalizing on it. These viewers admired Stern's bluntness, calling it refreshing, honest, and necessary in a media landscape where celebrities often get soft, carefully controlled interviews. The viral clips of Stern's mocking one-liners became instant shareable content, generating laughs, memes, and a surge of respect from those who valued his refusal to play nice. But for every person cheering Stern on, there were just as many criticizing him. Supporters of Prince Harry called the exchange unfair, labeling Stern's tone as disrespectful and cruel. To them, Harry wasn't a hypocrite but a man who had endured trauma and was trying to reclaim his voice. They argued that Stern crossed a line by mocking deeply personal struggles, reducing Harry's pain to entertainment fodder. Online, hashtags supporting Harry began trending, with fans defending his composure under pressure and applauding him for not firing back aggressively. For these viewers, Harry's restraint was a sign of dignity, a contrast to Stern's abrasive style. The polarization created an online storm. TikTok edits showed side-by-side reactions of Harry's discomfort and Stern's laughter, with users debating who came out on top. Twitter threads dissected every exchange, some praising Harry's ability to stay calm, others pointing out moments where his defensiveness showed through. YouTube commentary channels quickly jumped on the story, uploading breakdowns that racked up views as fans and critics alike flocked to weigh in. The clash wasn't just about Harry or Stern anymore, it became a larger conversation about privilege, accountability, and the fine line between honesty and cruelty in media. What gave the backlash and support even more power was how it drew in voices outside of the immediate fanbases. Celebrities, journalists, and influencers began chiming in, each adding fuel to the fire. Some admired Stern's fearlessness, insisting that public figures like Harry should be prepared to face tough questions if they choose to live in the spotlight. Others condemned the interview as exploitative, arguing that mocking someone's personal struggles for ratings was irresponsible. This wider commentary only amplified the debate, pushing the segment further into the global spotlight. The viral nature of the backlash also highlighted the power of live, unscripted television in an age dominated by curated content. Audiences are used to seeing celebrities in controlled settings, where every word feels rehearsed. This clash shattered that mold, giving people a raw moment to latch onto and interpret in their own way. The lack of polish made it more compelling, and the emotional reactions ensured it resonated beyond the screen. Viewers weren't just watching an interview, they were witnessing a public battle of words and emotions, one that reflected deeper cultural divides. Interestingly, both Stern and Harry benefited in different ways from the viral storm. Stern's reputation as the provocateur who never holds back was reinforced, with his fans celebrating his ability to dominate the conversation. Harry, despite the criticism, also gained attention, not for polished talking points, but for his visible vulnerability. For some, that humanity made him more relatable than ever, sparking sympathy even from people who might not normally support him. The clash created a dynamic where both men became talking points, ensuring that neither faded from the spotlight. What truly cemented the exchange as viral gold, though, was how endlessly replayable it became. Viewers could watch the same clip and come away with completely different conclusions, depending on their perspective. To some, Stern humiliated Harry. To others, Harry showed strength by keeping his composure. This ambiguity kept people coming back, replaying the footage, sharing their takes, and fueling engagement across platforms. The debate didn't end with the broadcast, it evolved into a cycle of reactions, counter-reactions, and commentary that extended the life of the moment far beyond the show. In the end, the public backlash and support surrounding the clash proved that controversy still drives attention more than anything else. The divide itself became the story, transforming one heated exchange into a viral phenomenon that dominated conversations online and offline. People weren't just talking about what Stern said or how Harry reacted, they were talking about what it all meant, taking sides in a debate that blurred the line between entertainment, criticism, and empathy. And that is exactly why the exchange didn't just trend for a day, it became one of those unforgettable media moments that lingers in the public consciousness long after the cameras stop rolling.